So today's Better by Next Week podcast is called Turn Up Ready. And it's all about the one thing that we all, are not sure of doing right, and that's tapering. And we're going to kind of talk about today what tapering is, what it looks like for, different distances, for ultra running, for shorter distances, because it's not just physical, it's also mental and nutritional. And I think that out of all the things that we do as runners, tapering is probably the one thing that everyone kind of does a little bit differently. And there's so many misconceptions about tapering, how to do it. And, in my experience over 15 years of running, I reckon I've nailed maybe 2 or 3 tapers, and that's it. And now I kind of fall back on this one kind of process every single time because it's pretty much, I think, it works for you. Yeah, it works for me. But I know that you went into a little bit more depth on the science behind some of the things in regards to taper. And, I'd like,
definitely. I think it's a really tricky topic to cover, especially when a lot of people, like you said, are not sure about it, or a lot of people do it differently. So it's very diverse in how the different methods people can do it.
Well, what is tapering?
Well, tapering essentially is the decreased training load that you do from peak weeks into just right before an event. And that can look like a decrease in volume, so kilometers, miles. But
what's the purpose of it?
Yeah, well, the main purpose is to be able to reduce the fatigue, the accumulating fatigue that you get from those big training weeks right before your event, because obviously you don't want that during your race. Fatigue, just getting fatigue from the race is as bad, and you don't want that fatigue from training to affect you. And it's all about finding that fine line of just being fit and not losing training adaptations, but also being able to rest and recover properly and replenish those glycogen stores, which glycogen is the primary source of fuel for us.
Yeah. And with glycogen, you depleted a fair bit during training, but during your taper, the idea is to make sure that you hit your race like full. So it's like you wouldn't start a trip, to the snow or on a holiday without a full tank of fuel.
Yeah, well, definitely, because the time it takes you to recover and replenish all your glycogen stores in training is not long enough in a way, which is why we have that taper, so we can taper off in that full time for our body to not only just repair the micro damage that you've done during heavy training, but also replenish those glycogen stores to be able to hit the event hard. And what actually happens is during the taper, it actually, and we often refer to this as carb loading, and we're going to get into a little bit of nutritional stuff now, but carb loading is taking on board all the carbs, because what happens is your glycogen stores don't just replenish without eating. So what happens is, I'll put this simply, is that glycogen is the stored form of carbs. So if you're not eating carbs, then you're not getting glycogen stores. And what happens is when we're consuming carbs and carb loading during the taper, and that's often what people call it, is that you're replenishing those muscles with glycogen and is fueling you to be ready. And it actually super compensates when you're tapering. So it'll almost 2 times or 3 times the amount of glycogen stores in your muscles right before an event when you're tapering.
Well, I wish I had known all that 15 years ago. No, because I didn't realize there was that much science and that technical. And
because people just talk about, you eat carbs, but there actually is a downside to it, because you don't want to eat too much sugary stuff. Otherwise, that can cause some distress right before your race, or really low GI, heavy carb foods like rice, like bread, because otherwise that'll cause you bloating and make you really feel just full.
Yeah, because I remember when I first started out, there was a lot of just talking about having a pizza or some pasta the night before a race, and that was it. That was carb loading for me. And
well, that's actually the thing is what happens is oxygen basically breaks the glycogen down into energy. That's super simply put, but fatty, the fat is actually a lot harder to break down, and that's your secondary source of fuel. And if you're eating a lot of fat, like cheese on a pizza, that can really mess with your guts, and it also takes a lot more oxygen and energy to use, and that's something you don't want in a race.
Yeah, I remember with Gabby Villa, when I was working with her, she spoke about like carb loading and things like that, and just the foods to avoid, and it was those oily foods and things like that, because you don't want to hit race day with a really crappy tummy. But that's what, like, I suppose what carb loading looks like in the week leading into a race during your taper. But from a physical standpoint, I guess for me, I reckon over 15 years, like I said, I've probably nailed taper 2 or 3 times where I've felt absolute magic on race day. And on one, I actually looked back at those races during the week and just wanted to have a look at what my training looked like. And I peaked around 90 Ks for this 100-mile race that I did. I peaked at 90 Ks, and then I kind of backed off to, I think it was 75 Ks, then 60 Ks, then 25. So it was almost like 100%, 75%, 50%, and 25%. And 3 weeks out, it was more, I did my last long run. It was about 30 Ks. It was pretty easy at conversational pace. 2 weeks out, I did a couple sessions that were like a sharper hilly session and a sharper flat session. And during the week off, it was just easy and social running. So I think just to drop any excess fatigue. And I hit that 100-mile race, and it was the race of my life. I felt the best I'd ever felt. I didn't win the race or anything like that, but I just had a really good race where I felt awesome the whole way through.
Well, now obviously that's on an ultra marathon perspective, because that's something we specialize in, and we're not so much specialized in the 5K, the 10K, the 21K, the 42K. And I actually went back and did a little bit of research on these race categories, because there are people out there that are looking to taper for these race categories and these distances. And we obviously aren't an expert at these, which is why I went back and did some research. So what I found for the 5K is to keep it short and sharp. So it's around 7 to 10 days of tapering, and for elites it might be 4 to 7. And some of the workouts that might
help you out.
Is, I often find, and I just went through a 5K taper, is just a fartlek, like a Mona fartlek, for instance. And
what's that doing?
Well, that's just getting a little bit of speed work in there, keeping the muscles really
what
sharp.
does that Mona fartlek look like?
Oh, Mona fartlek actually look like? So you do 2-minute 30 on and off, then you go into 4 1 minute on and off, and then it's 4 30 seconds on and off, and then it's 6 15 seconds on and off.
Okay.
So
you can look it up, can't you?
Yeah, you can look it up. It's really simple. But
we might actually put it on our blog.
Yeah, we will. And what else we might include in that blog is a little bit more of a detailed analysis on all these race categories, because I'm just going in through this really quickly and what it looks like.
Yeah, so on the blog, what we'll do, which is on our website, we'll put what categories are they all? Like 5K,
10K, 21K, 42K.
Yep.
So the next one is 10K, and this is more so just keeping your aerobic fitness really strong and including some speed in that. And that looks like about 10 to 12 days of tapering. And that's sort of like the 5K, just getting those easy jogs. Strides really help. I think having strides keep those muscles firing and keeping you ready for that race.
Yeah, I've never really been a big fan of strides. I've never, not that I haven't been a big fan. I just haven't done them.
I think that they're a really new concept in a way. Like they've just
Well, elites have probably been doing it for ages.
Elites have done it for ages. I know David Roach, he's been under the scenes and done his strides, done his speed work for a very long time, and now bang, he's here, all fast. Yeah. But yeah, it has been proven that strides do help older runners just keep developing that speed and running economy.
It probably gets your body used to running at those paces as well.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be able to run a bit faster.
Yeah. Well, the next two are sort of similar, so the 21K and the 42K, and that's more keeping it lower load, because obviously the demand for these races and distances are a lot higher than a 5K or 10K. So making sure that you're just jogging, keeping the legs moving, and having a session there like a 1K repeats. Maybe they might look like 5 1K repeats.
So intervals.
Intervals in a way, or 1 mile repeats, but at your race pace. Race pace is what I'm looking for. So if you look to do a 21K at 3:30 pace, which is impressive. Really impressive. I don't
I'd
know
be
if there's
impressed if
anyone-
I could run
it's
that.
super impressive. Or even if it's 5-minute pace, doing those 1 mile repeats at 5-minute pace, like maybe 5 or so days out, or even longer out. But you just want to avoid the really heavy fatigue type of sessions right before that race, because as we said before,
Yeah, but what's that kind of look like?
so that might look like a super long run, like doing a 30K
Like a week or two
a
out.
week or two out before your essentially
Marathon.
big race.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and so with the ultra marathons, where I've obviously got a little bit more
Expertise?
experience. Yeah, a little bit more experience with ultra marathons. Yeah, that 100, 75, 50, 25 has kind of been my go-to. And like I gave that example of, hitting that race really well. An example of not working, but a bad taper was, I remember I did the Great Ocean Walk, and it was the year it was kind of flooded out, and they changed it to an 80K race. And I remember feeling so sluggish for the first 30 or 40 Ks. And I look back at my training, and the 4 weeks out, I'd peaked at like 70 Ks. And then I had a look at 3 weeks out, I dropped to 30 Ks, which was probably too much of a deload. And then 2 weeks out, I did another 30 Ks. And then I think I realized, hang on, I haven't done enough work. So then I did a 40K week of during that race week. And I was like, I hit the race, and I'm like, oh my God, why is it so hard? I was running flat. That how we hiked that first bit?
Yep.
I remember running those first couple kilometers and thinking, I haven't even hit a hill, and I'm slow and sluggish. It was crap. And what ended up happening is I had to rely on any endurance that I actually had. And towards the end of the race, I started to feel better where my endurance kind of kicked in. But the first 30 or 40 Ks were terrible.
Yeah.
And I think what it was I deloaded too much too quickly. And then I tried so body's gone into recovery mode, and then I've gone, I'm going to go, and then it's going, I'm back in training mode, and then I've hit a race. So that's what, definitely don't do that.
It's finding the fine line there, because you don't want to drop too much like you did, because your body will find it's like, okay, I'm confused. What's going on here? Are we in recovery mode, or we're in race mode? Let's do this. Or you don't want to just go straight through it, right? But it works for some people, actually, going just straight through it, because the demand obviously for a 5K isn't that much, and you can sort of, like for me, for instance, I did a consistent 70K week training block and hit the 5K. It wasn't my best because I had some issues going on, but it wasn't my best performance, and I still ran through it and kept doing the 70Ks. But realistically, you don't want to be doing 160Ks the week of your race, because you're going to obviously be fatigued.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's weekend warriors and people that just, do it because they can. But if you really want to be hitting those events well, you kind of want to make sure you nail taper. And taper also, it can be tricky because a lot of people do a lot of events as well. A lot of the time I've had like events 5 or 6 weeks apart. And I think the people that are doing that, they find it very hard to taper, because you are almost recovering for 4 or 5 weeks.
Well, you need that time to recover.
Yeah, and then you need that time to recover, and then but you want to also hit that race.
Well, should we talk about your series of events of Herdies into Down Under?
Yeah, well, that's one thing I will say is focus on one race and try and just nail that race. If you actually have a look at the pros, how many times do you reckon the pros race a year?
Not much, honest. Not as much as what you would think.
Yeah, they're probably 2 times a year.
Yeah.
But man, they nail those races.
Yeah.
So whereas I've gone a 50-hour race into a 55-hour race 5 weeks later.
Like the climbing up Everest basically 2 times.
Yeah, well, that was, And then I went into Dead Cow Gully and did another 50 hours or
So
something.
it's just really not good for your body. And
no, there's no room for taper.
There's no build-up, and then there's no taper.
No, there's no room for that build-up. And yeah.
So as you said before, it's not focusing on what's next. And even now, from when I'm tapering for this event, I don't want to reveal it, but I kind of have already on Strava.
Yeah, you have.
All right. I'm going to name drop it. We're doing Backyard Ultra in Shepparton this year. And I I haven't got my 5K time down to what I want it to be, and I keep looking what's gonna happen after GB. Let's do this big block of the Norwegian method and everything. But it's more, and I'm hitting the taper stage a little bit now, and that's that more. And we'll talk a little bit more about physiological after this, but that's more. What can I do more, or what's next? And that's a really bad headspace you can be in because you want to focus all your energy on this one event, and that's
But that's like
we talk a lot about energy, and that's mentally.
That's an integral part of your taper as well, to make sure that you're in taper, that you're visualizing your race, that you're focusing on this one goal that you have. I want to knock this thing out of the park. I want to visualize myself, running it. I want to visualize myself winning it or finishing it or whatever it is, so that you can not waste any energy on other things like that don't need to be thought about, like your next training block or your next event.
That also has a negative impact during the race as well, because I might get to a point of hurt where I've ran, 200 Ks, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to really run because it might affect my next training. And
and that's, we don't want to do that.
You really don't. And it's because you want your peak outcome for this race, because that's realistically.
Well, it almost creates doubt, and it creates you lose focus on what you want in that moment, because as you know, during an event, you're going to be in pain. It's going to hurt. And if you've got something to come afterwards, you're more likely to say, you know what, it's all right if I don't finish this thing because I've got another event coming.
That's so dangerous, that mindset. You really don't need that.
Oh, that's right. So, I mean, we'll shift to the psychological stuff, how to prepare for a taper.
Yep.
And like we kind of briefly touched on it then, visualizing things and making sure that you've got all your energy focused in on that. One little story that I'd like to share is when I did one of the times I went and did World Tough Mudder, I remember a lady by the name of Deanna Blegg, who was she still is an amazing athlete, but she was an adventure racer back then. And I was just in awe of what she was doing. She was coming third in the world overall at these World Tough Mudders. And I just wanted to know how she did it and what she was doing. And she was just this incredible athlete. And I remember we were hanging out during the week of that race, and I'd be just in her ear. I'm like, oh, what do you reckon? What do you reckon pace-wise do we do? Oh, what do you reckon we do this? Oh, what do you reckon we do that? And she just turned to me and she just said, Tim, enough. And just enough. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? She goes, enough talking about it. She goes, don't waste the energy. And what she was talking about is during the week of, because you get excited because you got all this energy, you can't wait, you're pumped for it. And she would not talk about the race. She would not focus on the race until it was race day. So she would save up all that energy right for the race day, because she said that what ends up happening is that you spike. So you kind of go up, there's all this energy, like say you're racing on a Friday or a Saturday, on a Monday, you're all high and I feel amazing. And then you have this dip and then you feel low again. And then, you're high again. So you know how we often say when it comes to running, don't run your race during training. Well, also don't focus on getting too excited about your race when it's not the race, because you can waste your energy. Just like you can waste your energy running too hard in training, but you can waste your energy focusing. Yes, focus on the race, visualize yourself doing the race, but don't use all that excitement and all that. Use that on race day.
I actually remember the first time you told me this, and I was really confused on the week of your race. I was more excited than you. I'm like, why is Dad so down? And I went to you and I asked, I'm like, Dad, why don't you seem excited for your race? And you told me that it's the energy, and I just thought, wow, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, because you don't get as nervous as well.
No,
because you're not thinking, oh, what if this happens?
You're just banking until you explode on race day.
You're keeping everything the same, and it's funny because that bleeds into everything. If you just keep your routine the same, whether it be running, your nutrition, or this is all during taper, you keep all your routines the same, running, your nutrition, keep eating the same foods, your body doesn't realize that there's something coming, because something big is coming, and you almost want to spring the surprise on your body and go, surprise, surprise, we're running 160 Ks. and your body's like, oh crap, oh, you got me again. So essentially that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to save all that energy for race day.
Yeah, well, I even actually take that concept into real life things. Like I'll go camping with my mates and they'll ask, "Oh, are you excited?" and all that. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm excited, but I'm saving that excitement for the day. I don't want to crash on their energy or anything, but I'm like, no, I'm saving mine. I'm saving it to the day, and I'm like, bang, and then
and it's almost like putting all your eggs in that one basket.
Yeah.
But also, often what happens during taper is because you're training less in terms of running and things like that, you've got so much more time. And that's when it gets scary, because then you've got time to think. Well, you got time to think. It's like, am I doing enough of this? I'm like, I'm not training. And it's like, yep, that's the point. The point of taper is to not train as much, is to drop all that fatigue. And what the best thing that you can do is just focus on other things. And I find focusing on your nutrition is probably the best thing, because often when you're training, you do focus on your nutrition, but because you're eating so much, there's only so many healthy foods that you can eat, right? So you'll sometimes have something a little bit unhealthy.
Well, it's
or
not
whatever.
a bad thing. It really isn't, especially as runners. You need that energy for
you need all that fuel. So essentially during taper, try and focus on the good foods that you do eat, because you've got to replenish all those glycogen stores, like you were saying.
Yeah, well, I actually like to play a game with it, because personally I do worry, and this leads back into that the urge to do more. And what I like to do is, instead of the urge to do more in terms of running more volume, I actually have changed that to the urge to do more for my nutrition. So I'll eat healthier, I'll hydrate. Nutrition, it also involves hydration, and you don't want to drop all this just because you often say to me, it's almost as if, like, throughout you've done all the hard work, and
yes,
and
I'm
now,
always saying this,
and now you're gonna drop it, and now you're gonna just not get it to that 100%. So
don't drop the ball. Don't drop the ball at the just before the touchdown.
Yeah,
that's what it's almost like, isn't it?
Yeah,
you do so much work. Like, you think about it, your training block could go for 3 months, and you do all this epic work, and then during taper,
something so simple, and you can
just drop it, and then you don't focus on your sleep, or you don't focus on your nutrition, and then you hit the race and you're lethargic and you feel like crap, and you don't know why. It's just that last 5% of what it takes to prepare for a race. And it's also, like you said, doing less is often doing more for your actual preparedness for the race.
Well, with the urge to do more, I've read something about how athletes, what they do is they rest hard, right? So they can train hard.
Yeah.
Because essentially that's what you have to do, because you've done all this hard work you for months and months and months, and now you've got to this last point where you just need a rest. It's actually the easiest bit, but because we often think it's so physically challenging, it's actually so mentally challenging as well, which is why I want to also talk about phantom pains and injuries. They're a little bit of a bugger, aren't they?
Yeah, well, phantom pains, if anyone doesn't know what a phantom pain is, it's a pain that you think is there, but it's actually not really there. Or it's already been there the whole time. It's just that because you've got more time on your hands now, you start to focus on it more.
Well, I read a little bit into it, and it's actually the anxiety about this little niggle that is happening, right? But little do you know that niggle has already been happening for months on end. And as you said, and it's the time. It's the time that you have that makes you become more aware of these little niggles here, or am I eating enough, or should I be doing more?
But you know what a phantom pain can also be? It can also be the fact that you're tightening up a little bit. So you might be tightening up because you're backing off the load. So So maybe going to see a soft tissue therapist or getting a massage or foam rolling or doing stuff like that, you might find that you might actually release some of the tightness in your body and those phantom pains. Because I often get it, and I think, where has this been in training? I've been doing heaps of kilometers, and now I'm sore here and I'm sore there. Normally I'm not sore at all, and all that is just tightness.
Yeah, well, because and it, the taper gives yourself an opportunity to repair, and that's what's happening with these phantom pains. Is because your body's repairing, you become more aware of that little niggle, and by the time you get to the race, almost every time, every single time, and we're gonna talk about some of these examples, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine every single time. And for me, is in tapering on a specific event, it was Miramoana Backyard Ultra. And although this phantom pain wasn't so much a joint pain or a little bit of a muscle pain, it was my gut.
Yeah, so it was like a light gut distress, yeah?
Yeah. So it was a little light gut distress. And I got so worried. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do a proper taper. This is the end of the world. And what we did, we adapted and we changed my training to look more of like a cycling taper in a way, so that there was less impact or less bouncing around on my guts. And what that did, that cleared up a little bit of that mental
Anxiety, probably?
anxiety from my gut. And I was so worried about this gut issue going into Miramoana at this Backyard Ultra that on the day, guess what happened?
You killed it.
It was fine.
It was fine. You know,
And it was it was a super demanding nutritional kind of race, because you had to consume a lot of liquid, and that was something I was having issues with, was the gut.
yeah, well, because what was
pushing around.
happening was you were drinking water and things, and it was sloshing around in your guts.
And that's
and
what
we
made
couldn't
me
work
feel
it
a
out.
little bit
But how many
uncomfortable.
things did we try?
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
you don't know how you're. I'd be saying to you, Ollie, I think it might be you're sucking in air when you're drinking out of your water bottle. Like, it's things like that.
Well, because what I used to do with my flask, I'd drink it. I don't know why. You're a kid. You run, keep running. What are they going to do with a flask? And every
You
time
fidget with it.
I just go blow into it, and then I just go just breathe in all that air. So it was more so the air that was in my stomach, but also I actually wasn't sure what it was, but it was probably the amount that I was consuming in terms of liquid, and it just sloshes around.
Yeah, but remember, we also thought it could have been the fact that you were just growing. But actually, that you were just growing. You were having like a growth spurt or something was happening. But then we switched to riding, and you were fine, weren't you?
Well, again, and always as well, if you have a little bit of an issue during taper, it is good to see an expert. So we saw an expert, Rob Claridge, who we went to, and he actually explained it down to a point where what happens is that when we're running, all the blood rushes from our
Stomach.
important organs, stomach, which
Yeah.
is an important organ, and so your heart, your brain. So right now, as we're sitting here, we're probably, most of our blood is going to those because we're not using our muscles. But when you're working hard, guess where all that blood's going?
To
The muscles, the working muscles, because they need more oxygen. Now, I'm not going to go down that path because your blood's got oxygen. And what often results is that there's no blood in your stomach, and the food that you're consuming kind of just sits in there and ferments. So that's what probably the issue was going on. And the weeks after that, I would often go and feel my gut when I was running, and I was cold. I'm like, oh, maybe that's why.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's
You
why-
learn something new every time.
Yeah, that's right, and that happened during taper. So what it goes to show that even cross training for taper was okay for you there.
Yeah.
But it was all about just going back to what you could focus on and staying relaxed and trying not to be too anxious. Because often with taper, we get anxious and we just want the race to start. And because everything's prepared, all the work is done, all the hay is in the barn, and we're just like, yes, I'm ready to go. But now it's 2 weeks to go, and you're just waiting. And what can you do?
You mentioned what you can focus on, and sometimes we often get trapped into the fear of illness.
Yeah,
I find every single time before an event, I'm always scared of getting sick. And even this week, we've had a little bit of an illness in the family, and we've had to adapt to our training. And in training, it's bad, but you can adjust. But in an event, it's it can be really
Yeah, it's tricky. I've gone into an event once where I thought I was nailing my taper. I went to work. Guy was sick at work, and I ended up picking up a cold or I think it was the flu, and I had it for a whole week beforehand, and then I thought I'd be okay, and I had like 4 or 5 days before the race, so I didn't feel too bad, and then I hit the race, and had that race have only been like 20 or 30 k's, I probably would have been okay, but it was 160 k's, and I got to 40, and I was feeling really, really unwell, but I had family there. Other people were coming to watch, and I was like, oh no, I've got to keep going because they're not even there yet, and they're driving from a couple hours away to come see me at this race. And I ended up walking that last 20 kilometers, and a medic ended up catching up to me, and I was kind of running with him for a bit. And he said to me, "Yeah, it's not right. Your whole body shouldn't be stinging." And so I had to pull the pin. I DNF'd at that race, and I got home, and my temp was through the roof, and my heart rate. I was laying down trying to sleep, and my heart rate was 150 BPM, and it was just ridiculous. But I mean, that's one of those things that happen during taper. You try and avoid, getting sick, but yeah.
I remember that experience, and I remember having that family come from Melbourne. I don't really see them, and they're my favourite cousins. And I'm like, no, they can't quit because these guys aren't going to come. I'm like, no. And I didn't think much of it. And now I think, I'm like, what? Why was that probably happening with that illness? And do you think maybe it was the fact that your body was fighting off that lactic acid, but also now all of a sudden is trying to fight off this?
Yeah,
this
it was
sickness?
trying to fight two things. It's like
And that creates
yeah.
that imbalance.
Yeah, your kidneys and your liver are trying to flush everything out. They can't do it because they're just. I mean, if you're fighting a cold or a flu, your body's under a lot of stress already, and then you go and throw a marathon or I was trying to throw 160 k's at it. It was ridiculous.
I've never gone into a race sick. And luckily I've been fortunate to avoid illness, but it's one occasion, it's actually quite funny, in class, and it might seem like I'm a little bit over dramatic, but I'm no thank you, I don't want to get sick before a huge event. And when it happened, this guy in my class was coughing his head off like super bad, and I asked the teacher, I put my hand up in front of the whole class because whatever, and I go, oh, I'm really sorry, I don't want to seem like I'm this big drama queen, but do you mind if I just move a desk outside of the room? And I literally sat in the door entering that room, and just to get away from that sickness because I was so scared. But it's funny how we think about sickness, or for me, how I think about sickness before and a race. And what actually happens is during your big weeks, your big taper, you have and I always stuff this word, vulnerability.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, you're more vulnerable,
Yes.
right? Yeah, I said that great.
Yeah.
Vulnerable to illness because your body is run down, and we people often think, oh, you're a runner, you're doing huge Ks, you're so fit, but you're actually run down because of the amount of stress you're putting your body under. And during the taper time it actually boosts your immune system, and you're less likely to catch an illness, which is funny because that's the time we most.
Well, your body's
we're stressing a lot.
Yeah,
about
well, your body's
sickness.
probably just bouncing back, and you're teaching your body to bounce back every 24 hours if you're training every day or every 2 days. So it might be 24 hours or 4 days. So your body's bouncing back. It's bouncing back, and it's learned how to bounce back from 24, and then it bounces back after 24 hours, and then you don't put it through another grueling session or anything like that. So then it bounces back even further, and then, like you said, it's
My theory on the illness and how it's boosted in not peak weeks, in taper is that there's not as much stress on your body, and I think stress is something really big about just not getting sick, and that's something it's so easy to say and not really do, but just to stop stressing a lot, because that's going to stop all these illnesses from coming, these little niggles that you might overthink. And at the basis of it all is stress, really.
Yeah, well, and stressing that in how you mention it, also not stressing about, the deload that you're about to do. You have to be confident that you've done the training and now it's taper time. And taper time is all about getting your body ready for for the race. So you hit the race with a full tank of fuel. You've deloaded, so your body's at its strongest and with no fatigue. It's fueled well. It's a full glycogen store, so it's been fueled well. You put good food in there, and psychologically, you want to make sure that your body, that your mind is primed. You've done some visualization. You can see what you got to do, and then when as soon as that gun goes off, you're ready to go. And I mean, that's very easy to say, to nail those three big factors, but essentially that's what taper is, getting yourself ready for that race.
I want to talk about one last thing in psychological factors that might impact you, and it's the fear of being fit or fit enough. And I want to say this one thing just to put a lot of runners' minds at ease, and it's backed up by science, and it actually says that the 1 to 3 weeks that you taper for, you lose no fitness whatsoever, and you lose no VO2 max. Your cardiovascular system's working completely fine, so you actually lose no fitness. If anything, you're gaining more. I don't want to say you're gaining more fitness, but you're recovering your muscles, which is allowing you on race day to be more fitter.
Yeah, so you're dropping all that fatigue, and you're hitting the race primed and ready to go.
Yeah.
I guess what I want to know, Ol, from here is, how do you actually taper?
Well, it's been a little bit of an experiment for me, and I think that before Maroon to Dam, I really think we refined my tapering, and one huge variable that we changed was actually going for a hike. So I know we've mentioned this before, and we might sound like a broken record, but we hiked the Great Ocean Road.
Great Ocean Walk.
Oh, walk, whatever, road, walk, same thing. And it was 100 kilometers.
It was great, and it was along the ocean.
Yeah. And it was in southern Victoria.
Yeah.
It was 100 kilometers, and usually people do it over, 10 days?
I think it's an 8-day hike.
8-day hike. And what we did?
We power hiked it in 4.
Yeah. 3 1/4, you could say, if you wanted to make it.
We wanted to make it a little bit more challenging.
Yeah. And the first day we hiked maybe 30K. Second day was 42. That was a bit of a mistake, big day. And then
I said big day, you said mistake.
Yeah. Well, it was a mistake because we got to the campsite and then we're like,
yeah, we had no booking at the campsite. We had to camp on the beach.
Dad thought it was another 7 kilometers, and it was another 12.
Yeah.
So, and then the last,
it was an adventure.
And then the next one, I think it was 25.
Oh, I think something like that.
And then the last day was like 12 or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, what I found was that hiking a day before, and it probably was it was super ambitious to do, actually, because I'd never done something like that before, especially having these packs on that had 15 kilos in them. God, our bloody necks and hips were sore.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
And what I found that it's relatively low impact, so like cycling, like swimming, and that's exactly what you need for tapering, especially to keep your mind off things. And I found with hiking, I was able to keep my mind off running in a way and give myself that mental break whilst being out in nature, whilst being out with my dad talking about running and how I'm going to crush this event the next week. And what I found was that being out in nature actually reduces muscle tension reduces muscle tension, better sleep as well, and
less stress.
Like,
you're in nature, everywhere we were looking, it's like, have a look at that. Have a look at that. How epic was it?
How funny was it that it's like we were always saying, it's like, how cool is it that something so beautiful is an hour and a half away from where we are?
I know.
Another voice crack. I keep having these voice cracks this episode. I don't know why. But yeah, an hour and a half away. And I think that is something I really want to implement in future tapers. But I keep it the basic, the 100 at your peak week percentage, and then 75, 50, 25.
Yeah, so similar to what I do.
About a 3 week
And you
taper.
know what? It probably, maybe I'm getting older, so I probably don't have as good a race performances as what you do, but you've kind of implemented that for your longer distances, 50 plus, and it seemed to work pretty well. But also, I think what's worked well for you is the less stress. That's a big one. And understanding that, I think that you've kind of come to an understanding that taper does look can look different almost every single time you do it,
Yes.
because you've had to do it so many different ways. When you've had a little bit of gut distress, we had to switch to the bike. So you did the bike. Did you have a good performance at the race?
Of course, yeah.
You did, right? And then you nailed taper for Maroon de Dam, and then you ended up with good performance. And I bet you that your taper for your Yuyangs race that you did really well on, that was probably different as well.
Yeah.
So all 3 times different taper, but good performance in the end.
Yeah, well, the problem that was going around before Maroon de Dam was with my shins.
Yeah.
And I was super stressed about that because we were trying to do everything under the sun to repair these shins and make them not hurt. But I guess walking helped me take my mind off of that stress, that phantom pain.
And it was just that big deload was finally, that's what your body was yearning for. So sometimes when you've got these big training blocks, sometimes having a deload week before you taper is often a good idea as well.
If there's any lesson from my experience, it's that taper can work in so many different ways. And if you're stressed that it's not working in a specific way some other people tell you how to do it, that's okay. Because you have a look at me. I've done it 3 different times, and each time I've had a great outcome.
Yeah, you've had a great outcome. I guess we'll switch to some athlete insights.
Yes, I always love this bit.
Yeah, so we've had some really amazing athletes in the last few weeks, and this week is no different. And their insights on tapering have been awesome. They've kind of echoed a lot of things that we've already said, but our first athlete insight is from a young lady called Mia Noble, who she's on the Australian World Mountain Trail Running Aussie team. That's a mouthful to say, but she's on I got it. So she's on the Aussie team, but she's come first at 2 bays, in the females, top 5 overall. First at Surf Coast Century 50, top 5 overall. She's won GSCR, second overall. So she's an amazing athlete.
I look at any other women athlete in the world, and if they come top 5, top 10 in overall,
she's like the Courtney Dorwater of Australia. Yeah, that's right. And I mean, I'm really looking forward to her running at the World Mountain Running Championships, which is in about a month's time. So she's an amazing athlete. But she got back to us, and she talked a lot about, setting clear goals and visualizing what success looks like to you. And it was almost like that expectation, not having almost too high an expectation, but just visualize what success looks like to you. And then trying to, rehearse, the inevitable challenges that you're going to have. So if you rehearse them in your mind beforehand, then when they come up, you can kind of focus on. She spoke about fueling, food-wise, obviously food and hydration, to do it like as if it was your job. Like that's what she was saying. So it's super important to make sure you fuel and hydrate before a race, and to stay relaxed. We talked about that. Like stay relaxed, focus on keeping a routine, and remind yourself that you chose this. She spoke about you chose this. You wanted to do this, just focus and just relax during taper.
There's a reason why everyone says relax, because it's clearly important. Because, again, I don't want to bring it back all the time, but you don't want that added stress going into a race. And I relate so much to that, preparing for that inevitable bit, because I always before an event, I look at it, I'm like, I'm guaranteed to hurt here. Like, and it's a scary thing to look at. But
you chose that.
Yes. Yeah. And being able to acknowledge that you chose that, you want to do this. Yeah. Deep down, I really want to actually do this. I love that hurt, and it fuels me.
And you love the feeling at the end.
Yeah. Especially at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, so we were super grateful that Mia, spoke to us about, how she tapers. And, it's funny, she made sure that she focused on her food, she made sure she focused on her visualization, and she made sure that she focused on, what she could control, essentially. So who did you get an insight from?
So I'll give a little bit of context behind why we reached out to this specific person, and we wanted to get a little bit more of an understanding from a strength training standpoint, because we don't know too much about strength training and how to taper for that. And Liam Henderson, who is a running and strength and conditioning coach, gave us some a question to think about, and it was more so, what is the point of this session? and it was, are we actually going to make any more gains? You've already done the hard work, and we've talked about this in running, and this can apply the same to strength training. You've already done the hard work before, and what's one more session that you're going to do the week prior, even a couple of days before, that's going to add on to that? And he talks a lot about trying not to get that fatigue to come on into a race. And if he did say, if you were to do about something about strength training or a session the week before, you should do it. And he mentioned on a Monday. I'm assuming your race would be on a weekend, so a couple, maybe 5 days out, 5 to 7 days out, do a strength training session that is 6 out of 10 intensity. And I think that that's really important because you're not getting as much fatigue as what you would for a fully hard session of strength training.
Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it. And I mean, I'm terrible. I got no idea what to do to taper for strength work. All I can imagine is, and what I normally do is nothing.
Yeah, well, we know how to train for it, but just the tapering bit is a little bit hard to wrap our heads around.
Yeah, that's right, because you don't know how much to back off.
Yeah,
like I mean,
it's
it
like,
makes,
is it? Do I drop the weight?
Yeah,
or...
it does make sense. It does make sense to kind of back off the weight, maybe do body weight stuff.
How he said it is really good, because are you going to make more gains? And it's the same as,
there's no point in going for a 30K run a week out.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You've already done the work, and I think that's the one key takeaway we can take from Liam.
Yeah. And all right, so the last person that we reached out to was Tom Dade, who probably needs no introduction. Like, that man has finished down under 3 times, won it twice. He's won GSCR, he's won New Yang's miler, he's won the Unreasonable East 200 miler, and that's me picking maybe 4 or 5 events out of the 100 that he's probably done. But he was really cool in his approach when it comes to tapering, and he spoke about prioritizing arriving at the event relaxed and just staying positive and just having a really positive mindset on event day. So he didn't talk too much about what he does physically, what he does, in terms of all that, but he just had, he said focus on 4 key areas, and that was increase your calories, so carbs in particular, increase your sleep during taper, increase your hydration, and reduce your training load. And that's how simple he said, don't overthink those 4 things. Just kind of focus on them and just do a little bit of each one. But because the thing was that his main takeaway was to not force anything. And the key was to stay calm and hit the event feeling good. So if you nail those 4 things without overthinking them too much, you'll end up hitting the event, feeling good and, ready to go.
I thought when you said stay calm, I thought you were going to say stay relaxed. Because I'm like, it's another athlete, but calm and relaxed.
Yeah, calm and relaxed is a very similar thing, isn't it?
So I guess, what do you say? We bring this one across the finish line?
Yeah, sounds good. We'll do our
better by next week challenges. I want you to go first. No,
how about you go first?
Okay. I know that you haven't been doing this at all in your whole career, and it actually might be a change and a difficult change for you. But my better by next week challenge for you is to incorporate maybe about 2 to 3 strides in a session per week. And I know you might not do that. I'm going to look out the door. But the purpose of a stride is to slowly build into it. So it's not too bad. But for your old age, and I don't want to call you old, but
you always do. You're always calling me
for your older age. I think it would be really beneficial for you to be able to keep that running economy going and be able to actually get faster. And that also, in a way, teaches you to prioritize the sharp ups before taper. So it actually has 2 benefits in a way. So you're getting faster, and just to teach you that those sharp ups are all right and perfect before a taper.
Yep. Oh, that's a good one. I know that I should be doing some more strides.
Definitely should be.
So now, I'll definitely do those strides. I guess my better by next week challenge for you is to focus on your nutrition now that you're in taper for your event. So not just, and I want you not just to focus on nutrition, but to have a look at really what you're eating. So you're not obviously you're not going to be training as much. So your focus is going to go towards your eating, and not just focusing, oh, I'm eating this, I'm eating that, and being aware of what you're eating. But when you go and grab something to eat and you feel like, well, I could probably get something a little bit healthier. Say you want to get a piece of chocolate or something like that. I want you to focus on alternatives. So for this taper, and for the next week, and hopefully you can take it on to the rest of your taper as well. The goal is for the challenge is to find alternatives to what you're eating. So saying if you're having a piece of chocolate, maybe grab a couple dates. If you're
Dates
having,
are awesome. I've had this newfound love for dates now. It's like,
so it's all about alternatives. So you're going to get a snack of this. Try and get a different snack for something else. So you might get like a yogurt that's like full of sugar or processed sugars and stuff like that. Try and get Greek yogurt and some fruit and stuff like that. So it's all about focusing on alternatives. Not that all those foods that you eat are bad, because you obviously need carbs and you need food, and we're not super strict.
Just better options for the taper.
Yeah, just for the taper, so that you hit your event super sharp.
And to clarify, in really big training, it's okay to have these processes. It's okay to have foods across the board, because you need that energy that's coming in. Because
we're not super strict in terms of diets and stuff like that. We do tend to eat whatever we kind of feel like, because you're training so much.
Yeah.
But it's have a look at how many times, if you eat something really good, how much better do you feel on a run?
A lot better.
Yeah, that's right. So we know what to do, but sometimes it's nice just to have a treat. But yeah, I guess we'll wrap this one up. And if all our listeners and viewers would like to follow, like, and subscribe, because it really does help our channel and grows the audience, and we get a bigger reach to people and help people get better by next week. So yeah, if you could do that, that'd be an awesome favor. And yeah,
I always hate asking for that, but it does. It builds up our community, and we want more people to grow and learn. And especially this episode, for me, I've learnt a lot in research, and it's not just the viewers that are learning, and you're learning.
Oh yeah, learning. And I'm like, so the amount of things that I've learned from tapering and things that I'll take away, especially from our athlete insights, it's been amazing. It's been a really good. It's been a hard episode, because it's hard to look at what I've been doing and admit that I've probably been doing a lot of things wrong. But at the essence of a lot of it, it's been focusing on de-stressing and staying calm, and just enjoying yourself out there.
This thought came to my mind, and because we filmed this on the weekend and it comes out on Monday, we never end a podcast saying, good luck for the week, everyone. And our whole podcast is around better by next week. So I guess let's end this one differently. Good luck for the week, everyone. Crush your runs, and we hope to see you next week.
Yeah, awesome. Great podcast.
See you later.
See ya.